What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Aaron Nix from the Wrestle Plug podcast, and I'm here to discuss Impact on Access TV. Two of my favourite hours of wrestling every single week. No, I don't just simp for WWE. I simp for a lot of good wrestling, and Impact is very high on my list. Why else would I have Josh Alexander, one of the greatest man crushers of all time, on my podcast? Now, as a quick aside, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't had time to watch Impact, or maybe you just want a quick recap, which is why you're tuning in, I thank you for joining us at our YouTube channel. And of course, I implore you to subscribe. Make sure you like and comment on the video. And if you've even got time, try saving it to a playlist because it really helps with the algorithm. Nonetheless, thank you for joining us. And Impact opens up, of course, with the X Division. Who else is going to open up Impact / TNA these days? It's always been the X Division. It always will be the X Division. And that's because these guys know how to set the pace. A triple threat match for the #1 contendership of the X Division Championship. Ace Austin versus the Ultimate Finesse of Chris Bay. And of course, Decay's Black Taurus. Fan-fucking-tastic, lads. Just brilliant. Just absolutely brilliant. We're going to try and provide some highlights, which we'll be able to see on the screen as well. And you can see just from looking at those highlights why I rave about the X Division the way I do and why people rave about these guys in particular. Now, I've been a huge fan of Black Taurus coming into Impact because I loved his work in AAA. I think Chris Bay is genuinely one of the most exciting talents out there right now in the wrestling industry. And then, of course, you've got Ace Austin, who is no scrub, winner of the X Cup. And I had said coming into this, it doesn't really make sense that he would win the Super X Cup, which I believe was at No Surrender, and yet has done pretty much nothing since. It does make sense, because why would Ace Austin win the Super X Cup and not be afforded some sort of title opportunity anyway? Either way, he's been jumping through Scott D'Amore's hoops, which kind of makes him a bit of a tweener, even though he's presented as a heel. He's got Madman Fulton in his corner. And of course, this match, he would obviously factor into that. But this match was phenomenal. Transitional wrestling, Chris Bay and Ace Austin. So fluid, so smooth. There were times when they were trading head scissors and flipping out of them and evading each other's offense. It was so beautiful. But what was really beautiful about this match was the palate cleanser that was Black Taurus. I actually liken this match to a smaller version of that incredible triple threat, that 5-star standout between Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles, and Samoa Joe. And if you look at the 3 guys involved in that match and the 3 guys involved in this match tonight, or last night, if you're listening to this, there was very much a similar dynamic. You had Ace Austin, who was kind of this excellent hybrid cruiserweight type wrestler, very much like Christopher Daniels. You had the ultimate exciting standout high flyer in Chris Bay, very much like AJ Styles. And then, of course, you had the athletic but yet very rugged and aggressive powerhouse that can really shift, a freight train, if you will, in Black Taurus, representing, of course, Samoa Joe. And the dynamic in the match played out very similar to that. They all lent themselves so beautifully to each other, and it was great chemistry. When you consider that all 3 guys working this match are heels, you would have been forgiven for there being maybe a slight bit of disarray. Maybe it might have involved a few botches or whatever, just because they're not guys who are going to be frequently working together. But I love Matt Striker at the beginning of the match as well on commentary, saying, you know what, these guys, they wrestled as a team last week, so now they have an opportunity to take what they've learned and apply it to this triple threat. That's great commentary. That's fantastic. That's some of the best commentary I can hear. Michael Cole, take note, you fucking useless given. But the match itself was excellent. I loved it. It really was. It was so fluid. The transitional wrestling, the powerhouse, the kind of way that Black Taurus would get in and kind of shock the system almost and change everything that you saw. And ultimately, though, it's Ace Austin who comes out on top. And that makes total sense. Not only does Madman Fulton get involved to, of course, get him the win, but also, like I say, this is a guy who won the Super X Cup. So he kind of needs that next push, that next step to get towards the X Division Championship. And it will be Ace Austin versus TJP at Sacrifice. And I expect that to be an absolute show stealer. Tenille Dashwood, part of the Knockout division, is somebody that I have been screaming about for quite a while, saying that I feel that she is woefully underutilised. And I'm not a big fan of the influencer gimmick either. I know she is an influencer and she is utterly stunning. Happy birthday, by the way, Tenille. But it just feels a little lackluster, and it feels like they're not entirely sure what they're doing. She faced Jessica Havoc, and I've got to be honest, I thought this match was quite lackluster. And as you know, I love women's wrestling. I like Jessica Havoc in particular, and I thought she looked far better in this match. For me, Tenille Dashwood seems to be somebody who's having a bit of a styles clash, no pun intended, with a lot of the wrestlers involved in Impact, particularly in the Knockouts division. She just doesn't seem to work very fluidly with them. This match wasn't terrible by any means, it just felt very lackluster, very underwhelming. It was also a bit short as well, and as you saw in the main event, which was a Knockouts match, when you give them enough time to really work their stuff, they can really work magic. So yeah, I must admit, this was probably the most underwhelming part of the show for me. Jessica Havoc looked fantastic. I love her offense, the way that she strings moves together as well. That was something that happened in the Eddie Edwards match later on in the night as well. And I really like wrestling where they don't just do the one move and then they sit there and wait for another spot. They tie in their offense. And Havoc does that really well with the kicks, that vicious backbreaker, and then a lariat just to kind of top it all off. I liked it. But overall, I thought the match was very sluggish. You know, Caleb Conley, he's outside being a bit of a shitbag. Caleb Conley kind of got involved in this match, and that really annoyed me because more often than not, if that happens, you get ejected by the official, you know, removed from ringside. And they didn't do that with him, even though the referee clearly saw him, as you can see in the highlights. I just thought, okay, fair enough. It is what it is. But overall, very underwhelming, not particularly fantastic. Something that wasn't, though, was this magnificent promo we got from Sami Callihan. I've been saying for weeks now that I feel that Sami Callihan has been, not on the downslide, but I feel like he's been affected by the loss of OVE. And I have been waiting to see Sami Callihan come back at full strength heel that we expect him to be, because when he is at his best, he's one of the most exciting people in the entire business, and that's why he calls himself the Draw. And he's embroiled in this angle with Trey Miguel, and he takes a visit to Trey Miguel's wrestling academy, and long story short, he beats the shit out of everybody. He causes a right ruckus, gets in the face of the full-time, I believe, head trainer of the academy, which is really well done, even levels him, puts him on the chair, and then, of course, this young standout wrestler appears. His name, I must admit, I missed in the furore that was going on in this vignette. But Sam Callihan, trying to be quite manipulative, says, you know what, come with me. I see credibility in you. I see something in you that maybe Trey Miguel doesn't. You can see what's going on here. You know, maybe he's looking to build another OVE, because let's not forget as well that, you know, he went to a training center that was in Toledo, Ohio. OVE is basically Ohio versus everyone or everything. So it could be a possible opportunity to see us rebuild with a brand new OVE. And I'm absolutely here for that content. And I'm enjoying this rivalry as well. It's fantastic. It was great use of Sami Callihan. And the way it was recorded, the glitches, the way he presented it, it was brilliant. And it felt menacing and it felt somewhat organic. And that's something that wrestling really struggles to capture in this day and age. So I was a huge fan of this segment. Cody Dean is also backstage, Violent by Design. They've got a similar kind of menacing presence. I don't feel like they deliver it in the same way that Sami Callihan does. I think they're a few steps behind him in terms of presentation. That being said, Eric Young is not very happy that poor old Cody Dean lost to cousin Jake, now known as Jake Something, last week, and of course that means punishment. So cosplay Stan Hansen grabs Cody Dean, takes him into a dark room and does things to him. It actually was quite menacing in some ways, and it delivered the effect that was needed. And of course punishment has been served, and we'll see what Violent by Design has to do going forward. The match that really surprised me was Finn Juice and the Good Brothers in an 8-man tag versus Reno Scum and Triple XL. Not because it was the standout match of the night. I don't think it was terrible by any means, but it had about 3 or 4 minutes. And again, Finn Juice, when they last wrestled Reno Scum, was really good, but it was really short. The Good Brothers faced Triple XL. That was really short. I don't understand, you know, because they've got a fantastic tag team division. Right here, you have 4 very credible and very capable tag teams all out there showing what they can do. Problem was, we didn't get to see nearly enough of Reno Scum and Triple XL. I really like AC Romero. I think he's a really great worker. I think he's very physical. I think despite his size, he's actually very impressive. I love the way he sells. But I just was so disappointed this match wasn't longer, because I was getting into it and I was enjoying it. And before you know it, it's over. The whole vehicle of the match is, of course, that Finn Juice feel that they deserve to be on the same kind of level as the Good Brothers. And the Good Brothers are treating them like, you know, the young boys, the young lions, the scrubs of New Japan that they slap around like, yeah, you got to pay your dues because we're the champions and we're the veterans. And I did like it. Storyline was absolutely fine. I love the real hot tag, especially that hard tag where he just chops David Finn in the chest. I thought, oof. It wasn't Volta-esque, but it was certainly getting on for now. But like I say, match is over before you get a chance to enjoy it. You think, I would have liked to have seen just a little bit more. But it looks like we're going to get Finjuice versus the Good Brothers at some point, possibly at Sacrifice, which would be fucking awesome. That is really gearing up to be a fantastic pay-per-view. And I'm very grateful that I spent just my $6 a month to get Impact Plus, because I feel like that's a steal for the kind of content, not to mention the pay-per-views that you're afforded with that subscription. So I'm very much looking forward to that show. Now, the match that surprised me for the better was Eddie Edwards versus Brian Myers. Not going to lie, had no interest in it. Not because I don't like the guys, just because I've kind of got bored of Eddie Edwards with his cosplay John Cena / Tommy Dreamer thing going on. I like Eddie Edwards, the wrestler. I think he's one of the best in-ring workers they have. And Brian Myers, he's so fluid and professional. Problem is, you know, Brian Myers is he's a WWE washout, with all due respect. And of course, here he is facing Eddie Edwards and Matt Cardona, special guest referee. Now, I had woefully predicted last week that this would be a heel turn for Cardona. Actually, it wasn't. It was just regular Brian Myers bullshit. But the match itself actually was really, really good. I really enjoyed this. And I'm not surprised by that, because these two guys can wrestle so well. I just hate the gimmicks they've got going on. Brian Myers is a whiny professional bitch, essentially. Okay, fine. Eddie Edwards is teetering on hardcore territory, falling into the deathmatch territory, and not even really being that exciting or fantastic. I can think of other guys like Jimmy Havoc in his prime, or an RSP, Ricky Shane Page, guys who I feel are just a little bit more exciting. Schlack is another one as well in GCW. Guys who just, for me, do the deathmatch thing better. So Eddie Edwards' strength lies actually in his wrestling, and that was shown in this match. His transitional wrestling was beautiful, and the link-up of moves as well. It actually meant something. It didn't look like somebody, again, just like I was saying in the earlier match with Jessica Havoc and the way she likes to string moves together. It was great to see a wrestler who doesn't just do the one move and then wait for everybody else's response, or wait for the opposition wrestler to do a move. He strung moves together very nicely, made his offense look very fluid. And he ultimately comes out of a win via DQ. This was really well done. At the end of the match, Brian Myers, cheeky little loaded elbow, and boom, just fucking levels him. And he thinks he's going to get the pin and a win, and Matt Cardona had clocked it. Now, I didn't clock it the first time around until they showed the replay. I was like, what the fuck's wrong with that? Why has he called him? Brilliant. That means that you've done your camera work well. And that is another thing that I can do without on shitty shows like WWE Raw, where they just insist on 12 billion camera cuts. The camera crew here, admittedly in post-edit, so they've got the opportunity to get it right, and they've got more time to get it right, but they just do it the right way, and they don't bombard you. They let it breathe, and when they want to do a trick like this, for the most part, we missed it. And that was good, because then they have the opportunity to show it in post or in replay, and that's what they did. I like this. I actually thought this was really good. Probably one of the better Eddie Edwards matches I've seen in recent memory, just because he has been doing a lot of garbage brawling wrestling, and I don't have a problem with that. I like hardcore wrestling. I do. I like all brands of wrestling, but I don't want to see it regularly, you know? If I see 8 or 9 straight matches where you're essentially wrestling a deathmatch or hardcore style, I'm going to start tuning out. So it was nice to see him have a meaningful match that wasn't full of weapons or kendo stick wielding, or, you know, the wife screaming at ringside. And there's nothing against Alicia either, but personally, I wouldn't be too comfortable with my wife spending too much time around Johnny Swinger. I'm just saying. But nonetheless, I actually really enjoyed this. Thought it was an excellent match, and full credit to both guys, because I honestly thought it was going to be really tedious, and it was the one that surprised me most. What was great was the fact that the women main evented and closed the show, the knockouts, of course. Now, it was scheduled, I believe, to be Deonna Purrazzo one-on-one with Jordynne Grace. Then all of a sudden, this blossoming rivalry, so to speak, between the Knockouts Tag Team Champions, of course, Fire and Flavor, and Grace and Jazz reared its ugly head, and they decided, do you know what, Kiera Hogan? Why don't you get a front row seat and join us and make it a triple threat? And that's exactly what it was. And for the most part, I thought this match was excellent. Definitely one of the better women's matches I've seen for a while out of Impact. Impact's got one of the best women's divisions in the world, but they don't use it very well. Not for my money, at least, and it's good to see. What was great to see was Deonna Purrazzo wrestling the champion. It seems like forever since she had a meaningful match. Jordynne Grace showing off what she can do. She's one of the most exciting and powerful women I've ever seen in wrestling. Fantastic stuff. For me, Kiera Hogan felt a bit flat during the match, and that's not her fault. It's because the match was booked to make her look like, you know, a bit of a bitch, really, in terms of the way that she was walloped around the ring by the other two, and that's kind of fine. That's fair enough. But the match was impactful, and for me, the real star of this, and the reminder that she should be taken very seriously as a wrestler, is Jordynne Grace, because she was just showing off her incredible power, her incredible athleticism. She really is a freak of nature, and you know, Matt Stryker alluded to it during commentary. This is a woman who genuinely has so many talents. She's not just a big pile of mass. You know, she's a powerful unit, no question, but she's a world-class wrestler, great worker. Her and Deonna Purrazzo have beautiful chemistry. And of course, let's not forget that Deonna Purrazzo is the one who dethroned Jordynne Grace for the Knockouts Championship. So good continuity going through that. Very nice to see. Now, Deonna Purrazzo, of course, sneaks a win at the end, which is good because it keeps her strong. And then ODB comes down at the end of the match, however, because Deonna Purrazzo admitted earlier in the night that she was the one who knocked her out. Fair enough. It's always nice when they actually admit to doing it for once. And ODB gets hers by walloping the champion and standing aloft with the Knockouts Championship, hinting, of course, at a title match later down the line. Do I want to see ODB as champion? Not really. I don't think it makes sense for her to dethrone Deonna Purrazzo. But it feels like a female rerun of the Tommy Dreamer Rich Swann angle, where it is this, you know, fantastic, young, incredibly athletic champion, and the old-timer, ODB, you know, one dirty, shut your mouth. And it works so well from that perspective. And I must admit, I'm probably more emotionally invested for this than I am in Tommy Dreamer versus Rich Swann, because I feel like ODB has just got a little bit more to offer. That's just my personal opinion. But it was a good main event, and it was lovely to see the women close out the show as well. And once again, Impact delivers a great 2 hours of wrestling. Impact is living proof that 2 hours is always the way to go when it comes to wrestling. Impact Wrestling, for me, is 2 of the best hours of wrestling you'll get every week. And I really wish more and more people would recognize that. Check out the Twitch stream if you're in North America. Check out Access TV. And if you're in the UK, hopefully you can catch up with these highlights a little bit quicker, and it saves you having to wait till later in the week to watch it on Rewind via Freeview TV. From myself, Aaron X, thank you very much for watching. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment and all that jazz. And I'll catch you very soon for more content from the Wrestle Plug.